talk about our activity for this week, which is building parachutes.
So first, when we're talking about parachutes, we would talk about gravity, which is known as the force of attraction that pulls two masses together. So it's not just between objects and the Earth, but for this activity, we'll be focusing on objects in the Earth because you'll be kind of manipulating gravity to make an object fall slower. So you'll be trying to change the force of gravity on that object. So this is an example.
And then let it go.
Whoa! That was really far, guys.
So your task would be to build a parachute, and it should hold a mass, but a light mass, such as a pencil or a ping pong ball, nothing too heavy, and you want it to stay in the air as long as possible. And when you're done with that, make sure you email a video to of your parachute to stemfridays@gmail.com.
Yeah, so let's start with some materials that you could use to build your parachute. So you're going to want a lot of string, either a large piece of paper or a plastic bag. This plastic bag can be either a grocery bag or a trash bag. And then you're also going to want to have a hole puncher or a pair of scissors. So the first thing you're going to want to do is cut out a large square from either your plastic bag or your large sheet of paper. And then you're going to trim off each corner to make it look like an octagon. And then at each corner of your octagon, you're going to want to cut a small hole using your scissors or either punch a hole using your hole puncher. And try to make sure that these holes are the same distance away from each corner of your octagon so make sure that the weight of the parachute is evenly distributed. The next thing you're going to want to do is cut 8 pieces of string the same length and thread them through the holes that you cut in your parachute. And after doing that, you're going to want to tie all those pieces of string together and then tie it to the mast you're using. You can use either a pencil or like a ping pong ball or something like that. And then after you're finished building your parachute, you're going to want to find a high spot to drop your parachute. So you can either drop it from like off of a chair or off of the top of a staircase. And when you're doing that, you're going to want to time how long it takes from the moment you drop your parachute to the moment it hits the ground. So you might be wondering how you're going to make your parachute better. So you can manipulate different variables in your parachute, one of which is the string length. So a longer string length will allow for more air to get trapped underneath your parachute, and with more air resistance, your parachute will be in the air for a longer amount of time. The number of strings, so if you only have two or three strings, your parachute might wobble in the air. If you use more strings, like 8 strings like you're doing with this parachute, you'll have greater stability. Parachute size, so the larger parachute you have, the more amount of surface area you have, and there's greater air resistance, so your parachute will be in the air for a longer amount of time. So the shape of your parachute, so a circle or an octagon are probably the best shapes to go with because they have lots of symmetry. And then parachute material. You guys should probably use a light material, so either paper or a plastic bag. But if you guys don't have those materials, you can experiment with using light cloths, such as like if you have handkerchiefs or towel, something like that. Then that hole that you see in the picture on the right, that's a stabilizing hole. So when your parachute's dropping, there's a lot of air that gets gathered underneath your parachute. And the stabilizing hole at the top will allow an easy exit for air to come out. And it'll prevent your parachute from wobbling in the air. However, if your hole at the top is too big, too much air will rush out and your parachute will hit the ground faster.